And then I'm going to share my screen. If you guys cannot see my slides, oh good, I can still see you. Okay, so can I get a thumbs up if you can see my slides? Yes. Okay, awesome. Yay. Well, thank you guys for joining me tonight. This is a topic that I'm really passionate about, and I've been in business for online business for 5+ years now. And I've done a lot of things wrong, but the thing that I think I have done well, and it's allowed me to be flexible with my choices in business, is create a solid brand. And that brand has really supported me through several different ventures, and it will continue to support me as I evolve and make adjustments to my business. So I want the same for you. I really love helping other entrepreneurs, specifically women, brand themselves so that they have freedom and flexibility and they are not locked into one type of business. And then if that doesn't work out for them and they want to change directions, they're not stuck starting over. So that's what we're going to talk about today. This is a branding school. So let me tell you a little bit about my story for those of you who don't know me. My name is Katie Harlan, and I live in Central Illinois with my 3 kids and my husband. I'm a former teacher, so from the time I was little until I was 26, I was interested in being nothing but a teacher. That was all I wanted to do. I was a 2nd grade teacher for 1 year, and then I was a 4th grade teacher for 4 years, and I just loved my job. I've always wanted to be a teacher, which is funny because I'm still a teacher, really. It's just in a different genre of people. So, but then I had my daughter, and when I went back to work, I felt like I couldn't be a really great mom and a really great teacher at the same time. That was hard for me, and so I decided that I was going to try staying home. And that was really, at the time, that was like a huge decision because I loved my career. But it ended up being the perfect decision for our family because I got pregnant right away, and then I had another baby after that. So we had 3 kids in under 3, and life was crazy and chaotic. And it was. I was just knee deep in motherhood. So I went from not wanting to be anything but a teacher my whole life to being a stay-at-home mom, full-time stay-at-home mom, and really feeling like, okay, I never want to go work for anyone again. It's funny how life just hands you, different things. So like I said, my background was in teaching. I had no business experience. I had no marketing experience and no sales experience, nothing. But when my youngest daughter was 5 months old, I reached out to someone online about fitness coaching because I was ready to get my body back. And I'd always liked being active, but I never really was a fitness person. I kind of dabbled in working out, and my diet was horrible. And so I just needed some guidance. And through that experience with her, I realized a few things. Well, first of all, I had a lot of success. I loved having someone coach me, and I realized the power of coaching. And I still believe in the power of coaching. But I also realized, okay, what this girl was doing wasn't like rocket science. And it was just having someone, kind of hold my hand and help me be accountable and be there for me that really did it. It wasn't that I was being presented with these mind-blowing ideas. It was all basic stuff. But so it really launched my career in fitness and in business because I was sharing what I was learning with people. And I thought, well, if I'm doing that, I might as well make a business out of it. So I decided to become a coach as well. And it started my business venture. And I started working maybe 5 hours a week at the most because I had all these little kids and no time. But it has grown. And so over the years, so what started out as like this little tiny thing has grown into my full-time income. And now all my kids are at school. So it's come full circle. They're all back at school. My youngest started kindergarten this year. I've been building this business the whole time, like an incubator. And now I'm making about 3 times as much as I was as a teacher. And I never want to work for anyone again. I love being at home. I love working for myself. And I love sharing what I've learned with other people. So that's my story. But I want you to just remember, as I'm teaching you this tonight, that I am not a salesperson by nature. That wasn't my background. Now I love sales, and I guess I would say I'm a salesperson now, but that is not my background. I did not have a business degree, and you don't need one. I think as women, we get stuck behind the idea that we need more education and more certifications and more this and more that to be qualified. And the only thing that really you need to be qualified is just the belief that you are qualified. So I want to set you free into knowing that you've got what it takes. You have everything you need already right here. So I built my business from the bottom up, truly. When I started, Facebook was kind of new, and I had 100 friends on Facebook. And I started by posting really dumb things, and I'm going to show you those things at the end. But I just kind of kept putting one foot in front of the other. You know, when my coach would say, well, this is what you need to do to build a business. You need to post 3 to 5 times a day. I would try to post 3 to 5 times a day. And then when I learned, you know, you need to breadcrumb your material, so you're kind of always sprinkling it in, I would always sprinkle it in. And I was a good student, and I listened and I applied, and then I made a lot of mistakes. And every time I made a mistake, I learned from it. And so I just kept doing that over the years until people started recognizing me as being a fitness coach. And I remember feeling like, oh my gosh, I can't believe these people like think I'm a fitness expert because I wasn't, and then I was. It's like it just evolved. But that's what developing a good brand will do for you. And now wherever I go, I'm meeting people who know me for fitness, and now for business, and now for activewear. And so what I'm saying is that it took consistency and just moving forward, and now I have this solid brand, and with this solid brand I can really do whatever I want with it. And that's what I want for you too. I'm a big believer in putting your brand in yourself instead of your products, and that I've made a lot of mistakes about that, but once I figured that out, it was really key in setting me apart from the other people doing what I was doing. So we're going to talk about some strategies. So currently I still do fitness coaching. I also love business coaching, and I am a rep for an activewear brand. I have been a part of 4 network marketing businesses. 2 of them were before I was, 2 of them were like before my teaching career, and then 2 of them have come after being a stay-at-home mom. And I really just, when I love something, I just want to share it with people. So that's why. But in all of that, I kept my brand about me. And so that really allowed me to shift gears when I wanted to. And we'll talk more about that as we go. Okay. So in all of my business ventures, truly, in everything I'm doing, when I'm, fitness coaching, or when I'm business consulting, or even with my own team now as an activewear rep, I really just want to teach other people how to bypass some of the mistakes I've made and make it more simple. So that's my goal tonight, is just to kind of show you what I've done. And I hope that you can get a few nuggets out of my story. So let's talk about your personal brand. So this is a branding school. This is all about creating a personal brand. What is it? So your personal brand is what people think of when they think of you. And we already have a personal brand. It's just a matter of taking our brand and who we are and putting it on social media and putting it out there. And social media is such a great tool because it's free and everyone is on it. So we might as well use it. I like to tell my business clients that social media is like your marketing department. And we need to give as much attention to social media, the social media marketing department, as we would if we owned a corporation and we had to physically walk to the marketing department. So we really need to pay attention to what we're putting out there, because that is our resume. That's our brand. That's our advertisements for ourselves. So why do you want a personal brand? Well, like I said earlier, when you create a brand based around you and your unique strengths and gifts and personality, then it doesn't really matter what you're selling or offering. You could change courses, you could add something, you could change your mind down the road, or go a different direction, and it really doesn't matter because your people, your network, trust and like you. They want to work with you no matter what you've got. And I have really found this to be true, which has been amazing. People kind of turn and course correct with me because they just know me. So if they are comfortable with you and like you and what you're putting out, then it doesn't matter what you're putting out. They're gonna follow along. So I really want to always lead with you instead of your products, because your products and goods and services are only a very small part of who you are. Your brand should center around 3 to 5 main topics. So who are you? So I'm going to use myself as an example a lot because that's easy. So I am a mom. That is probably my number one message in everything I do. I find a lot of humor in motherhood, and I love to share the humor. I love to I love to be down to earth and honest with moms. I'm not one to post a lot of super sentimental quotes because that's just not me. I'm one to post like, this is so hard and this is why it's funny. And so I attract a lot of people that feel that way. So those are my people. I also talk a lot about health and fitness. I talk about entrepreneurial adventures. I talk a lot about mental health. And so those are sort of my things. Like everything I post or share kind of goes in some way in one of those categories. Every once in a while I'll post something that's kind of off, but for the most part it goes here. So think right now, and if you have paper, take notes. Like, let's take a second. What are your things? Are you really passionate about scrapbooking? Is that like one of the things that you just like want to talk about, and that is really you? Are you, a super active person? Then make that part of your sharing and your posting. Do you really, really value like date nights? That's another thing I talk about a lot, is like that time with your spouse, because that's super important to me. So those things that are important to you, you've got to draw those out of you and write them down and create a brand around it. And that is you. And that creates that consistency so that people know when they go to your page or your site or your profile that they're going to get one of those 3 to 5 types of things. And they'll look for it and they'll wait for it and they'll want it. Okay. Now, I said, who are you? And then I said, what can you provide in a crowded space? So this is what is often missing from people that I work with in terms of business. They get the part where they have to create, these 3 to 5 things that are just unique to them that they really want to talk about. But they forget that you need to provide value. So what value are you giving? If it's just a selfie with a word, a sentence that says like "Happy Friday," what is the value? I think about value in several categories. So I like to think about value added could be entertainment. So is what you're sharing or talking about humorous, funny, entertaining, thoughtful? Is what you're sharing inspiring? Is it educational? Is it uplifting? So if everything you share should tick one of those boxes, even if it's just kind of ticks that box. So for example, going back to mine, I posted I like self-deprecating humor. So anything that in my life, kind of it humbles me and just makes me laugh, I love to share that. And my purpose for sharing that is to make sure my audience knows that I'm real. And also, I think that giving people a laugh in this world is like really lovely. I love when people make me laugh. And so I think that's a value added. I love, I'm health and fitness, so I share workouts and I share recipes. That's value added. I'm giving something up. So what can you share that adds value to other people? It's great to see your face and it's great to post selfies, and you absolutely should do that. But what can you attach to them that adds value to your network? Because that's what's going to get people coming back over and over to your page. And then think about what makes you unique. If you struggle with this, what makes you different? Like, why are you special? What makes your love of baseball different than your neighbor's love of baseball, for example? Talk to the people who are closest to you. Talk to your spouse, talk to your friends, talk to your parents, just say, what makes me unique? I have a funny story about this. I just to show you that, I'm kind of always doing this too. I went to a conference for my my company, the activewear brand, and I had so many people come up to me and say really kind things about being inspired by me. Now, this just blew my mind because I didn't know these people, and I really felt the whole weekend like, what are they talking about? Like, what is it that's inspiring them? And so I asked. After the conference, I messaged one of my friends who was there, and I said, this is really embarrassing, and I hope you don't think I'm bragging, but I legit need to know this information. And so I asked her, and then she shared with me what her ideas were, and I screenshotted that and I saved it in my phone because, when you're an entrepreneur, self-doubt is a very big enemy. It's just, you just always have to be kind of pumping yourself full of good vibes because it's hard and it can be lonely. And so anyway, if you get lost, if you kind of get to those places where you're like, what is special about me? Ask around. I certainly have to do that too. Okay, so let's go into the tips. Tip number 1 in creating a brand. You've got to both self-promote and show your vulnerabilities or your humility. So this is something that is very hard for a lot of us, the self-promotion part, right? Being vulnerable and having humility is easier for many of us than the self-promotion. But you guys, if you don't talk about the good things that you're doing, who is going to? You have to sell yourself, because that is your job as an entrepreneur. It's not your successes aren't just going to be shown. They're not, especially when you're online, you don't have a boss. You don't have an employee of the month club online. You have to do the self-promoting. Now, you can do this in a way that is humble and not annoying and not flashy, but you do have to share with your network why working with you or buying from you or, whatever it is the right thing to do. So ways you can do this. Well, like I said, you can always talk to somebody like in your close circle and say, what am I doing well? What can I share that I'm doing if you're really lost? But talk about, I just hit this promotion and I'm so proud, or this is a milestone I hit in my business and I'm very grateful. And, do you see how taking the thing you did and attaching a gratitude with it, it just grounds it in a little bit of a more gentle space? Or, talking about something that you've done and then tagging a friend who's kind of doing it with you. That kind of grounds it in that better space, I think. But you do have to self-promote, and it is difficult. Sometimes I find this one challenging. But if you don't tell your network what you're doing well, they won't just know innately. You have to sort of put it out there. Think of it like a billboard advertising. It's not like you're doing this all the time, but you need to be sprinkling in this self-promotion once in a while. And then the humility, that's where you need to be vulnerable with your network. When you can be vulnerable and share things that are hard for you or share challenges that you're going through, that's where people can really resonate with you, and they can start to trust you. And once they know, like, and trust you, then if they're still there, then that's your tribe and that's who you want. We're going for connection here. So, I really have come to believe that connection with other people is what life is about. It's what makes it joyful. And so the more connections you have, the more meaningful connections, the better your life, the better your business, the happier you'll be. And to get those meaningful connections online can be hard. That's why if you genuinely share who you are, the ups and the downs and everything in between, you're going to attract people who want to get to know you. And those people are your tribe. And those people are going to follow you wherever you go, and they're going to uplift you and support you. And you never know what can come of those connections. So that self-promotion and humility, they're on both ends of the spectrum, but you've got to do both of them. Okay, tip number 2 is consistency. So, this has changed a little bit since I began. Like I said, when I first started 5 years ago, I was guided to post on social media 3 to 5 times a day. This builds a solid brand, this builds affinity, this builds a place where people can really get to know you, and that consistent schedule just builds you up. I don't know that I would recommend that that's not a hard and fast rule anymore. And I certainly don't post that much, but I did at the beginning when I only had 100 Facebook friends and, no, Instagram wasn't even the thing then. And I did post frequently. And so if you are not in the habit of posting, I would recommend at least 2 times a day and make sure that they are value added posts. The consistency, I know, can be hard, especially when you're working another job, which most people are, by the way. Most people are doing these online adventures as a side hustle, and I was at one time too. So I get that can be hard, but some tricks for this are keeping a little notebook where when you have an idea of a post, you just jot it down. And then once you have the idea, the actual posting only takes minutes. We all have a few minutes here and there. You can do one before you go to work and one when you get home from work, or one in the car before you go inside. It really doesn't take long if you have the idea. So you could do this on an app on your phone as well. So just kind of keeping a running log of ideas is really, really helpful. But you do want to build some sort of consistency. And I think that once a day is probably not enough to build consistency. I would say at least twice a day. And if you're really trying to get out there and build a business, 3 to 4 times a day would be ideal. Now, each of those posts are different. Each of those posts are hitting a different mark. So perhaps one of them is a call to action, like it's about what you offer and it's how can people work with you. And then the second one is a story about your son and how he lost his tooth, and here's the lesson that you learned from that funny story. And then the third is a picture of your Christmas tree and a mug, and it's saying, I'm so grateful. And then, they're not all the same intensity. They're not all the same thing, but they all go with your brand and they all have a purpose. Even if the purpose is just to create a little joy in the world, they all have a purpose. But that consistency is important. If you don't have the consistency, you will never build a brand. It's just like, think of it like when you're watching TV, it's those ads that you see over and over. Those are the successful companies. And we'll come back to TV channels in a minute. Okay, tip number 3. It's here. I thought it was later. Okay, your favorite channel. So I love this analogy. I felt like super smart when I came up with this analogy. I'm not going to lie. I don't even watch TV anymore, hardly. So this is something that is from my previous life, it feels like, but it's so real. So I used to love HGTV. So let's just say that's your favorite channel. So you're watching HGTV and you're watching a show that you like. Well, in between the show are commercials, right? And some of them you're like, maybe you don't pay attention to, and some of them might even annoy you, and some of them catch your eye and you think, oh, I need that, right? So your social media is just like your favorite channel. People are going to, they're going to have it on. You're the channel. right? Your page is the channel, and some of the things might not resonate with them, and some of the things they might skip over, or some of them they might not see, but the consistency of your posting, the consistency of the topics, it is going to resonate with them. And as long as it's sort of always playing in the background with your consistent efforts, then they are going to eventually choose to work with you because they like what they see. So try to make your page like your favorite channel. So every once in a while, well, I do two things in this topic. First of all, every once in a while on Facebook, I will just scroll my page and make sure that I like the content. So if I scroll and there are 3 recipes in a row, for example, or 3 funny stories, or something, like if it just doesn't, if I'm looking at it and I'm like, I'm not really getting the vibe that I want, then I might delete something, or I might, I just might be aware of it. So every once in a while, do an audit of your page. Scroll down it and see, is this something that I would like to see? Is this something I would keep coming back to? Is this interesting, informative, entertaining? Is it adding value? And if the answer is no, well, then don't beat yourself up and figure out a way to add some value, okay? So I definitely do an audit frequently, and I want it to have a certain feel. I want it to have, like the things I talked about, the things that are important to me, a good variety. Then another thing I do on Instagram stories, I do the same thing. So Instagram stories are my second favorite social media. The first one is Facebook, and then the second one is the stories. Instagram posting isn't as effective right now as the stories. People love watching the stories. So I'll watch my stories from the beginning, and I'll kind of see, like, do I like is this entertaining? Is it informative? Do I have a good variety? So I do the same thing with my stories, but I like to watch them like from the beginning to the end, like maybe once a day, just to see, because I kind of forget what I've posted. I tend to do a lot of stories. So just make sure that your brand is something that you would be interested in watching, And if you need help with that, I'm happy to audit your pages. That's a really fun thing for me to do. Or you can ask, a best friend or something, like, hey, scroll down my page real quick and, see if it's helpful for you. Okay, I think this was supposed to say tip number 4. I moved them. Okay, let's go to this one. All right, tip number 4, be flexible and embrace failure. So be flexible. I definitely have had to do this over the years, and I have embraced a lot of failure, and I'm going to show you some of my fails just so that you know that I'm not lying about that. We're a work in progress, and so is our business, and so is our marketing strategy. So a ton of companies all the time, every single day, have a marketing strategy that doesn't work, that falls flat, that doesn't hit the right notes, that looks bad, that sounds bad, that needs repealed. And so our business is the same, and we just need to be flexible with ourselves and know that it's okay if something doesn't go right, if it doesn't look right, if it doesn't feel right, we can always delete it, number 1, and we can always just move on. I think that we as entrepreneurs in the online space get really caught up in some of these, in the idea that once we post something, like, everybody has seen it. So first of all, that's why the consistency is important, because you guys, it takes seeing so many things for it to resonate with people, but 2, you probably only see not a fifth, like 1/20th of what a person is posting. I mean, it would be very rare for someone to see every single post that you put up. So it's okay. You don't need to assume that they've seen it and it's horrible. Just either delete it if you hate it, or just know that, the next one is just going to move that right on down. So we've got to be flexible, and embracing failure is hard, but it is definitely a part of the entrepreneurial journey, and we just have to own that. Okay. Tip number 5, you are the brand, not your products. So when people start in typically a network marketing venture, their first instinct is to go online and just show all the products all the time. That's it. And that might work for a little bit while your network is new to this idea, but as you go, that's going to get boring really fast if you're not adding value in different ways. I think of it like this. People sort of put up with seeing our products if we have enough good other stuff. So, I want my page to be a happy, helpful page for people. When I showcase products, I try to do it in a way that is also adding a different kind of value. So maybe so let's take my activewear, for example, but it could be skincare. It could be, cleaning products. It doesn't matter. I try to take my picture in a way that showcases the products. Either I'm wearing them or they're near me or whatever, but I'm talking about something else. So it's still showing it. I'm still selling it. I'm still advertising it, but I'm not saying buy my clothing. In fact, if you're saying buy my clothing or buy my whatever, no one is going to see that because Facebook is getting really, really, really difficult with those kinds of words. Dollar signs, amounts, money words, sale, discount, buy, order, even register is getting lower and lower in the feed. So remember that it was created, Facebook specifically was created for social networking. So it's not really a sales site. So, we need to be a little bit careful with that. And they've created the algorithm in such a way that really they're saying like, please don't just sell to your friends. And so I never want to be like that. Yes, there are times that I'll post some pictures and I'll say, oh my gosh, these are amazing. You guys need these. But for the most part, when I'm talking about my products, it's with something else, some other value added item. Okay. So when I do call to action, like sales posts, they're few and far between. I think of the 80-20 rule is helpful. So 80% of the time you're adding value, 20% of the time you are posting some sort of call to action. So that would be book a party. I've got a VIP group. I've got this, that, or the other. Okay. So 80-20, I think about that a lot. But here's the deal. If you brand your products as the reason you're on social media and then it doesn't work out, or you change your mind, or you want to add something else to your business, it's going to be a lot harder. If you brand yourself and the products are part of you, then it will be a lot easier to add and adjust and course correct as you go. And I say this from experience. It really allowed me to make a pretty seamless transition from my previous network marketing business to working solely for myself and to now adding something else in. So that has been very helpful. Okay. So here are some of my failures. I had many more, but I decided to stick with these. Okay, so this came up in my memories this week, and I screenshotted it for my husband. So this was before I started my business, and the things that I did on Facebook were like, I don't even know I don't know what my point was, but 3 more assignments. I was getting my master's at that time, and so I was sharing that. Super boring. This says, is hanging out with the bros and the hubby, enjoying some family time, putting up the tree and getting some work done. There is no value statement there. Now this was 9 years ago. So, okay, I'm going to give myself a little leeway. Everyone is kind of doing that, but you can see there's no value. Like, why would anybody want to read that or care? That's the kind of thing you tell your friend. That's not the kind of thing your whole network needs to know. And then I love why doesn't Mandy Moore have a Christmas album? No one commented on it. I think it's funny. I think it's true, but it just shows you, I just wanted to show you that there are many times that I get no engagement. And so that was sort of like the beginning of my journey. Actually, I just had my 3rd daughter. So Maybe I hadn't even started the business idea yet. So this was before I knew. Then this picture in the middle with me and my arms over my head, I had a photo shoot, which is good. And I think everyone needs a photo shoot, but that is just so not me. And I don't look like that. If I have any sexiness in me, it sure doesn't look like that. So and it looks very, it just looks forced, I think. So that's a failure, but I certainly put that up, and that's okay. And then this one makes me cringe a bit because it's so like kitschy, it's the very like here, I don't know. It's you take a picture and put these things all over it and then put it up, and it's again, it's not value added. It's not really interesting. It's not it's just not good. It's just not good, and that's okay. Again, I learned and I grew. But this thing down at the bottom, the Fixate picture. So when I was with Beachbody, my last network marketing company that really got me started, everyone was posting stock photos. This stock photo went viral. I'm sure you guys have seen it. And all sorts of stock photos we just posted them like crazy. And that just doesn't work anymore. Thank goodness. So, we were at the time kind of starting to learn like, oh, okay, wait, stock photos don't do as well as photos of us. We were kind of learning that at that time, but stock photos really just don't belong on social media, especially if other people are using them. If you're going to use a stock photo, try to use it in a private setting and not just like for everyone to see. Because sometimes, yes, we need to use those stock photos, but we don't want to make it the main thing that we're doing. Remember, we're branding ourselves, not our products. So those are some of my fails. I have another one. We released a program called Hammer and Chisel. And I took a picture of myself like holding a hammer in a sports bra, and it was just so ridiculous. But I learned and I grew. I know it was so bad. I couldn't find it to show you guys. That's too bad, isn't it? Okay, so let's go to the last one. I think the last one is just for questions. Yes. So I'm going to stop the share, and if you guys have questions, this is the time to unmute, or you can use the chat tool. I'm happy to answer any. Got a few minutes here. Anybody? Any questions? Did I answer everything you wanted to know? Okay, well, either speak up now or do the chat tool, but I appreciate you guys being on. I'm going to post this recording in the Eventbrite page, so if you have teams and you want to share this with your team and you think it would be helpful, feel free to do that. I'll put the video probably in the morning once it uploads. Was that helpful? Okay, good. No questions? Okay. All right, ladies. Thank you so much. I hope you have a good night. Bye, everyone.